There are empires built on words, kingdoms carved out by speeches, by the power of voice. But then there's Khaby, a man who conquered the world by saying absolutely nothing. This is not just a story about social media. This is a story about irony, about timing, about a silent rebellion against the noise of the digital age. It's a story that begins not in Hollywood or Silicon Valley, but in the industrial town of Chivasso, Italy, where the hum of factory machines was once the soundtrack to Khaby's life. In early 2020, the world stopped. Factories shut their doors, cities turned into ghost towns, and millions lost their jobs overnight. Among them, a 20-year-old factory worker named Khaby. For Khaby, life had never been easy. Born in Senegal, raised in a modest home in Italy, he grew up in a world where opportunities felt like distant mirages. His family had moved to Europe in search of something better, and for a while it seemed possible until the pandemic hit. When the machines in the factory went silent, Khaby's future did too. With no job, no income, and no clear path forward, he found himself trapped, like so many others, inside four walls and his own thoughts. What do you do when everything you've built collapses in an instant? The answer for Khaby came in the form of a phone screen. TikTok, the app that had exploded during lockdown, was a carnival of chaos, flashy edits, over-the-top life hacks, influencers screaming for attention, desperate for likes and validation. And Khaby? He looked at all that noise and thought, why? He didn't have expensive equipment. He didn't have elaborate concepts. He didn't even have words. But what he did have was perspective, the ability to look at absurdity and cut it down, to size with the simplest, most universal gesture in the world, the hand swipe, that iconic motion that said, look, it's not that hard. No dialogue, no background music, just a man, a stare, and a gesture. And in a digital world drowning in complexity, that simplicity became his weapon. The first few videos, they did okay, but then something happened. People started sharing, laughing, relating, because in every ridiculous life hack, there was a piece of our collective absurdity. And in Khaby's reactions, there was a voice for all of us. Within months, millions followed. Within a year, Khaby became a phenomenon. His face became a global language, understood from Tokyo to Toronto, Lagos to Los Angeles. His videos didn't need subtitles because they were the subtitles of common sense. While influencers burned themselves out chasing trends, Khaby turned stillness into a trend of its own. He didn't need words to speak volumes. His humor didn't divide, it united. In a time of uncertainty, Khaby became the quiet reassurance that some things were still simple. By 2021, Khaby wasn't just a TikToker. He was the second most followed person on the entire platform, and climbing fast. Then came the moment, the day he dethroned Charli D'Amelio, becoming the first most followed TikTok creator in the world. A Senegalese-Italian immigrant who once lived in public housing had just beaten the biggest names in the social media industry. And he did it without a single spoken word. Brands rushed in, partnerships with Hugo Boss, Netflix, even appearances at the Venice Film Festival. Khaby walked the red carpets where words were currency, and he didn't need any. His silence became his signature. But with fame comes pressure. Could Khaby keep his charm without giving in to the machine? Could simplicity survive in an economy that feeds on spectacle? Behind the smile and the shrug, questions began to loom. In interviews, Khaby was asked again and again, why don't you talk? Will you ever? And the truth? He could. He spoke fluent Italian, Wolof, and French. But silence wasn't a limitation. It was a choice. A choice that made him stand out in a world obsessed with being louder, faster, flashier. But the internet moves on. Trends rise and fall like tides. Could Khaby remain relevant in a platform that thrives on change? Or would his quiet empire eventually be drowned out by the next wave? Today, Khaby stands as one of the most recognized faces in the digital age. Over 160 million followers on TikTok, millions more on Instagram, endorsements worth millions. He's crossed from influencer to global brand. And yet, his story raises questions bigger than social media. What does Khaby represent? Is he the proof that authenticity still matters? Or is he just a symbol of a fleeting trend, a relic of the lockdown era? In a world where everyone fights to be heard, Khaby's silence was his greatest strength. But will silence echo forever? Or will it fade, swallowed by the noise he once defied? One thing is certain, Khaby didn't just win the internet. He rewrote the rules of it. Without a word, without a sound, just a gesture. And a reminder that sometimes the simplest voice is the one that speaks the loudest. The silent king, the man who spoke to the world by saying nothing at all. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more of these videos.